Now imagine for 1 second that Mary, the mother of Jesus, for one reason or the other, could not deliver her baby, Jesus Christ. What would happen to the salvation that you and I enjoy today? Now, this is why we're going to be having a look at the significance of you delivering your baby and how it ties into you walking in the fullness of all that God has destined for you to walk in, and also you fulfilling your kingdom mandate. Now, babies in this context does not only refer to physical biological babies. In fact, it also refers to all of the ideas, instructions, intuitions, all of the gifts, talents, and abilities that God has deposited in you for you to bring forth for the benefit of the kingdom, right? So what we're going to be looking at is drawing similarities between the circumstances surrounding how Jesus Christ was conceived and birthed, and also the similar circumstances surrounding us, being able to conceive all of these ideas and intuitions, and the circumstances surrounding how we can birth them to fulfill purpose and also meet the kingdom mandate as well. Now, the very first point we're going to be having a look at is the conception principle, right? Now, Matthew 1:18 tells us that Jesus Christ was conceived by the power of the Holy Spirit, right? Now, similarly, for all of our ideas, our intuitions, for every brand, business, or building that you see today in the physical, it was already conceived in the spiritual before it was made manifest in the physical, right? So whether we acknowledge it or not, whether anyone acknowledges it or not, right? All of those big businesses, big brands that you see today was first conceived in the spiritual and was then made manifest in the physical, right? So everything we have in us, we've conceived by the power of the Holy Spirit, right? So it's not by our power, not by our might, but by the power of the Holy Spirit that we're able to think about the things we think about and to conceive them and to, bring them to life. Now, another critical element which we need to take cognizance of in terms of helping us deliver our baby is the evolution and transformation that happens during the process of growing the baby within the womb. Now, if we have a look at the example of, a lady who's growing a baby in her womb, the lady begins to see some sort of transformation on her body. And this is similar for us as well. When we begin to want to do stuff that we're not used to, when we begin to pivot from one profession to another, we're actually noticing some sort of evolution or transformation. And this is also a form of movement or migration. Now, Mary and Joseph, I beg your pardon, had to move from Nazareth to Bethlehem because of the order by Caesar Augusto, who ordered that everyone returns back to their towns so that there can be a census, right? So Mary and Joseph had to migrate. They had to, evolve from where they were staying in Bethlehem to, from Nazareth to Bethlehem, right? Now, this is also necessary as well. When you're trying to deliver your baby, you might need to go through some changes, just like a pregnant woman. And it's going to be, some of those changes might be internal, some of those changes might be external, right? So it's very important for us to know that, in the process of delivering the baby, we are going to have to go through some sort of evolution, transformation, migration, or movement. And that movement is a positive movement for us to help us deliver our baby and achieve our objective. Now, another critical element we need to have a look at in helping us deliver our baby is the conditions surrounding our evolution, transformation, migration, or movement, right? Now, with the story of the birth of Jesus, Mary and Joseph, like we mentioned earlier, had to, transition, had to move from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And Bethlehem, from what we know, is located in the Judean mountains. So what this means is that they had to go through a lot of rough and rocky roads to get to their destination. It wasn't a smooth ride, but they had to make that journey. So this is also similar for us as well as believers. When we're trying to pivot into business, when we're trying to pivot into a different career, when we're trying to pivot into the ministry that God has or already ordained us for, it might not be easy, but we need to keep pressing forward and keep doing what God has called us to do, right? So God is the same God who has promised us that he's going to make every rough road smooth and every crooked path straight. And he also promises that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose, right? So even though the road might seem rough, even though there might be lots of hurdles on the way, these are all part and parcel of what we face prior to achieving victory in all that God has called us to achieve, right? So God also reminds us that we should be of good cheer because he has overcome the world, right? In this world, we're going to face many trials, but we should be of good cheer, right? For he has overcome the world, right? So the circumstances surrounding our transition, it might not be easy, but God has got us covered, and we just need to stay focused and keep pressing on. Now, the last but not the least point we're going to be having a look at is the arrival of our baby, right? Now, when we have a look at the story of Mary and Joseph and the birth of Jesus, when Mary and Joseph arrived Bethlehem, they could not find any space whatsoever where they could stay and, successfully deliver their baby Jesus Christ. But what did Mary and Joseph do? They had to find their way to a manger. It wasn't the best conditions, right? It wasn't the most suitable, but they found their way there, and that was where Jesus Christ was born. So with the arrival of our baby, most of the time, the only person that's going to believe in your dream is yourself. Most people, even if it's a bright idea, even if it's a great idea, right, the best cheerleader is still going to be yourself. No one's going to understand your vision or your dreams as much as you do, right? So you have to create space for your baby to be birthed, right? Most of the time for us believers, when we try to deliver our baby, one of the things that discourages us is the fact that there does not seem to be space for this sort of idea that I'm trying to bring to the marketplace. But hey, guess what? God has called you to create your own space the same way Mary and Joseph did when they arrived at Bethlehem. They created their own space and they made sure that their baby was birthed. So my brothers and sisters, for you to deliver your baby successfully, you're going to have to conceive that idea with the power of the Holy Spirit. You're going to have to go through some sort of evolution or transformation. It could also be migration or movement. And when you're migrating or moving, the road might seem rough, but you need to keep pressing on. The circumstances surrounding that transformation also shows us that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a smooth ride, but you need to keep pressing on. And finally, for your baby to be birthed, for your baby to arrive successfully, you need to create space for your baby. Nobody is going to do it for you. You need to keep pressing on. You need to keep pushing forward. You need to create that space. You are your greatest cheerleader. Keep pressing on and you're going to deliver that baby, right? Thank you, my brothers and sisters, for watching Generational Wealth TV. Go out there, deliver your baby. All of those ideas, those instructions, those businesses, those plans, everything that God has deposited in you, the whole world is waiting for your manifestation. Go out there, deliver your baby, and let's fulfill that kingdom mandate. I'm going to see you on the next one.